Good morning, I'm Kenneth Moten.
And I'm Elizabeth Hur. Here are the top 5 things to know this Tuesday. Number 1, the crisis in Syria.
President Trump has authorized sanctions against Turkey as Turkish forces bear down on the Syrian Kurds.
The president is demanding a ceasefire while preparing to withdraw 1,000 U.S. troops. Vice President Mike Pence is trying to get Turkey to the negotiating table.
Number 2, the outrage in Fort Worth, Texas, after a police officer fatally shot a woman in her own home during what was supposed to be a wellness check.
That officer, who resigned, has now been arrested on a murder charge as the victim's family demands an independent investigation. Body cam video shows 28-year-old Tatiana Jefferson being shot through a window on Saturday. Her family says she was playing a video game with her 8-year-old nephew at the time.
The fact that she got shot for looking through her own window is the problem here.
She was a law-abiding citizen. She did what she was supposed to do. For you to still do that and your life is not safe, that's scary.
Police responded to the house after a neighbor reported that a door was open.
The former officer who was arrested has now been released on $200,000 bond. The police chief says they've also turned the case over to the FBI for possible civil rights charges.
On to number 3, the investigation into President Trump's personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani.
Federal prosecutors are reportedly looking into Rudy Giuliani's business dealings in Ukraine, including his bank records.
Sources say they're trying to find out any role he may have played in an alleged conspiracy that led to last week's arrests of 2 of his associates.
Number 4, LeBron James is sparking controversy this morning after discussing the NBA's China controversy.
James was in China after Houston Rockets executive Daryl Morey tweeted his support for pro-democracy protesters in Hong Kong, a tweet that angered the Chinese government and jeopardized the league's financial interests in China.
Now back in L.A., James is speaking out, claiming Daryl Morey was either misinformed or, quote, not really educated about Hong Kong.
So many people could have been harmed, not only financially, but physically, emotionally, spiritually. So just be careful what we tweet and we say and what we do, even though, yes, we do have freedom of speech, but there can be a lot of negative that comes with that, too.
James said he's happy with the way the NBA commissioner has handled the controversy.
Are to support.
And finally, number 5, a new study links getting a bad night's sleep to bad eating habits.
Specifically, researchers found less than perfect rest makes us crave junk food. The study found a lack of sleep increases hormones linked to what causes us to get the munchies. That ramps up the desire for comfort foods like cakes, chips, and biscuits.
Experts say 1/3 of Americans sleep less than 6 hours per night, and the study could shed light on the obesity issue here in the U.S.
Out of the 3 I just mentioned, I had biscuits and I had chips yesterday.
I had cookies. So
We're a match.
Good morning, good morning. It's Morning America.
It sure is.
Yes, and we have a lot of news to get to. So let's get right to the crisis in Syria. President Trump is authorizing new economic sanctions on Turkey in hopes of restraining that country's devastating assault on the Syrian Kurds. The president spoke to the Turkish president by phone to demand a ceasefire while moving to withdraw nearly every American soldier from the country. The death toll mounting as Turkish troops push deeper into Syria, setting the stage for a clash with Syrian forces who are now aligned with the Kurds. ABC's Megan Tavrizian here with the latest. Good morning, Megan.
Good morning, Elizabeth. Vice President Pence says he will head to Turkey as quickly as possible to negotiate a settlement, saying sanctions could be ramped up if Turkey doesn't respond.
The situation in Syria growing more dangerous. More than 130,000 people displaced. Hundreds reported dead as Turkey's military makes its way to the strategic town of Manbij. Until days ago, the Kurds were fighting ISIS alongside the U.S. and guarding ISIS prisons. But now they've struck a deal with Syrian dictator and enemy of the U.S., Bashar al-Assad, to join the front lines against Turkey. Just 1 week after announcing he was pulling U.S. troops out of a key area in Syria, President Trump is now authorizing sanctions against the NATO ally, calling Turkey's President Erdogan, asking for a ceasefire, and sending a delegation led by Vice President Mike Pence to Turkey.
The sanctions that were announced today will continue and will worsen unless and until Turkey embraces an immediate ceasefire, stops the violence, and agrees to negotiate a long-term settlement.
Republican Senator Lindsey Graham, who was initially critical of the president's decision to withdraw troops, on Fox and Friends.
Republicans and Democrats working with the administration are kind of come down on him like a ton of bricks, Iranian-type sanctions, and he deserves it.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi releasing a statement saying the sanctions fall short and that the president's erratic decision-making is threatening lives, risking regional security, and undermining America's credibility in the world.
The 1,000 U.S. troops President Trump has ordered out of northern Syria will go to Iraq and be available for anti-ISIS and counterterrorism missions. But without troops in the area, it makes intelligence gathering for potential missions much more difficult. Elizabeth.
Megan, thank you. Now to the breaking news concerning the impeachment investigation and President Trump's attorney, Rudy Giuliani.
According to the New York Times, former National Security Advisor John Bolton warned White House lawyers about Giuliani's effort to get Ukraine to investigate President Trump's political rivals, calling Giuliani a, quote, hand grenade who's going to blow everybody up.
The Times says the warning from Bolton came to light yesterday during testimony from Fiona Hill, President Trump's former advisor on Russia, raising new questions about Giuliani's role at the White House and abroad. This morning, new testimony in the impeachment investigation from a former White House aide who says former National Security Advisor John Bolton was so concerned with a rogue effort by President Trump's personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani, and now acting chief of staff, Mick Mulvaney, he told an aide to alert White House lawyers. The New York Times reports that aide was Fiona Hill, President Trump's former top advisor on Russia, who gave that testimony about Bolton's warning during her 10 hours behind closed doors on Capitol Hill Monday. According to the Times, Bolton told Hill to inform lawyers that Giuliani and Mulvaney's efforts to pressure Ukraine to investigate Democrats could have legal implications, reportedly saying, I am not part of whatever drug deal Rudy and Mulvaney are cooking up, and calling Giuliani a hand grenade who's going to blow everybody up. It comes as the Wall Street Journal reports prosecutors are now seeking financial records connected to Giuliani's consulting work in Ukraine and have begun talking to witnesses about Giuliani. Last week, ABC News reported that authorities were looking at Giuliani's business relationship with Lev Parnas and Igor Fruman, who were arrested before they could leave the country and charged with campaign finance violations. When reached Monday, Giuliani said he had not been informed of any investigation.
Rudy Giuliani has clearly been a leading force for the administration in defining a shadow foreign policy in Ukraine. There was an official foreign policy which was attempting to counter corruption in Ukraine.
But Republicans questioned the overall investigation.
All we could say is this to Chairman Schiff. Just release the transcripts.
Fiona Hill stepped down in July, days before the president's phone call with Ukraine's president, which has become the center of the impeachment inquiry. The New York Times also reports Bolton got into a heated exchange with Gordon Sondland, a former Trump donor who became ambassador to the European Union. Sondland is set to testify before Congress Thursday. He's expected to say that his widely quoted text message insisting there was no quid pro quo between the White House and Ukraine was essentially dictated by President Trump. House Democrats now want to interview the White House budget director as they focus on how that military aid to Ukraine was withheld. We turn now to the big debate tonight. The Democrats hoping to win the White House are facing off in Ohio as new polls show Elizabeth Warren surging, now neck and neck with Joe Biden.
It all comes as a new report claims former New York Mayor Michael Bloomberg is thinking about jumping into the race, but CNBC reports Bloomberg would enter the race only if Biden were to drop out in the early stages of the primaries.
ABC's Rachel Scott joins us from Ohio now with a debate preview. Rachel, good morning. So what should we be watching out for?
Good morning, Elizabeth and Kenneth. Good morning to you guys here from Ohio. Well, it will be the first time that you will see 12 candidates on a single stage. That is making history, the largest in a presidential primary yet. But that will come with its own set of challenges, right? The more candidates on that stage means the less time they will have to make their case. I caught up with Senator Kamala Harris this past weekend. She says this type of format and structure just does not allow for in-depth conversation on serious issues. So that will be the big question tonight. Whose message will break through?
And as we mentioned, Elizabeth Warren is now neck and neck with Joe Biden in the polls. How is that going to affect the debate?
Yeah, well, that will be, all eyes will be on Elizabeth Warren and Joe Biden tonight, as well as Bernie Sanders, right? All of those three frontrunners, all in their 70s. Sanders making his return after having that heart attack. It'll be the first time, his first public appearance since having the heart attack, back on the stage tonight. And it comes as that new poll from Quinnipiac shows that Joe Biden and Senator Elizabeth Warren are neck and neck in the polls right now. And I caught up with Senator Elizabeth Warren this past summer, talking about her summer surge, which is now trickling here into the fall. And she says that it's because she has a plan for everything. But this is the old guard versus the new. On one side, you have Senator Warren and Senator Sanders making their push for Medicare for all. And then on the other side, you have a divide on health care with Joe Biden, who wants to expand on the ACA, the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare. So that will be a big question on the stage tonight. Who will have a breakthrough moment? And after this, who will take the lead in the polls, guys?
That is a very good question. Speaking of neck and neck, I'm very glad we can see your neck with that giant scarf you have on, Rachel, because I know that it's a little chilly there in Ohio. You've been on the trail for a little bit. Now everybody's talking about impeachment over the past few weeks. That's going to play a big factor in tonight's debate, I'm sure.
Yeah, this California girl is certainly not in California anymore, as you could tell from my gloves and my scarf that I have on here. But yes, this is going to be the first debate since the impeachment inquiry was launched. And I was in Iowa this past weekend. Joe Biden was there as well. And he said while he may have been the last guy to call for impeachment, he thinks impeachment is happening because of him. Because as you can recall, right, this whole battle over impeachment was triggered from the president's phone call with the Ukrainian leader, where he urges him repeatedly to investigate corruption and Joe Biden as a potential 2020 rival. And so now Joe Biden is close to this conversation that is surrounding impeachment. His son Hunter has decided to step down from the board of a Chinese-backed company. I had a chance to ask the vice president about that. Why now? He stepped down from Burisma months ago. He told me that his son has done nothing wrong here, but he has made the decision on his own. He did not consult with his son prior to this, and even took it a step further to say that if he should become president, that no one in his family will work for a foreign entity.
And
guys?
we will be hearing from Hunter Biden in our exclusive interview in just a few minutes. But Rachel Scott, we thank you so much. You've been a rock star out there on the campaign trail, and you've still got so much more to go. It'll be warm again and then cold again before the election. So,
oh yes.
Thanks, our friend. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, here are a few other stories we are watching this morning. Investigators near Washington, D.C. are looking into the death of a police officer. Thomas Bamba was a 13-year veteran with the Montgomery County, Maryland Police Department. Police say he called for backup from a parking garage in Silver Spring, Maryland, and was found with a gunshot wound. Bamba's death is being treated as a homicide, and police say they currently do not have any suspects.
California's Bay Area has been shaken by a strong earthquake.
The magnitude 4.5 quake was centered near Pleasant Hill in the East Bay. It was felt across the bay in San Francisco and even south in Santa Cruz. So far, no injuries have been reported, but this quake comes just days ahead of the 30th anniversary of the devastating 1989 quake that killed 63 people.
And there may be movement in the General Motors strike. Reports from Detroit say the United Auto Workers has scheduled a Thursday morning union council meeting. Attendees include leaders allowed to discuss a tentative deal. The strike is in its 5th week. Analysts say it has cost GM $650 million in profits, while workers have lost $400 million in wages.
Coming up, protesters clash with police in Barcelona, why leaders of the independence movement have been convicted of sedition.
Plus, as we just said, Joe Biden's son speaks out about the president's unproven allegations in an ABC News exclusive interview when we come back. Welcome back. Now to that ABC News exclusive interview with former Vice President Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, who has become the focal point of a political firestorm over his former position on the board of a Ukrainian gas company.
Now, the impeachment inquiry centers on President Trump asking the Ukrainian president to look into alleged criminal wrongdoing by the Bidens in connection with Hunter Biden's job. Take a listen to what he had to say.
By the way, whatever happened to Hunter? Where the hell is he?
Hunter Biden, the son of former Vice President Joe Biden, has found himself at the center of a political firestorm.
Where's Hunter?
Where is Hunter?
Where is Hunter?
He's right here.
Yeah. I'm here. I'm working and I'm living my life.
President Trump says you're in hiding.
Hiding in plain sight, I guess. Yeah. No, not at all. Not at all.
Biden and his son are stone cold crooked.
The president has been on the rampage, accusing 49-year-old Biden of improperly profiting on business interests in Ukraine while his father was vice president and the point person on Ukraine, taking a seat on the board at $50,000 a month with a gas company called Burisma, which had been accused of corruption, leading to that now infamous phone call in July.
It's a very honorable call. It's a nice call.
When President Trump asked Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to investigate the Bidens, no evidence of illegal wrongdoing has been found against either one. I want to get to the heart of it. Did you and your father ever discuss Ukraine?
No. As I said, the only time was after a news account, and it wasn't a discussion in any way. There's no but to this. No, we never did.
Your dad said, I hope you know what you're doing.
I hope you know what you're doing.
I do?
And I said, I do. And that was literally the end of our discussion.
Why?
Because my dad was vice president of the United States. There's literally nothing as a young man or as a full-grown adult that my father in some way hasn't had influence over. It does not serve either one of us.
When he said, I hope you know what you're doing, what did he think you were doing?
Well, he read the press reports that I joined the board of Burisma, which was a Ukrainian natural gas company. And there's been a lot of misinformation about me, not about my dad. Nobody buys that, but it buys this idea that I was unqualified to be on the board.
What were your qualifications to be on the board of Burisma?
Well, I was vice chairman of the board of Amtrak for 5 years. I was the chairman of the board of the UN World Food Program. I was a lawyer for Boies Schiller Flexner, one of the most prestigious law firms in the world.
You didn't have any extensive knowledge about natural gas or Ukraine itself, though?
No, but I think that I had as much knowledge as anybody else that was on the board, if not more.
In the list that you gave me of the reasons why you're on that board, you did not list the fact that you were the son of the vice president.
Yeah, no.
What role do you think that played?
I think that it is impossible for me to be on any of the boards that I just mentioned without saying that I'm the son of the vice president of the United States.
You were paid $50,000 a month for your position?
Look, I'm a private citizen. One thing that I don't have to do is sit here and open my kimono as it relates to how much money I make or did or didn't. But it's all been reported.
If your last name wasn't Biden, do you think you would have been asked to be on the board of Burisma?
I don't know. I don't know. Probably not. I don't think that there's a lot of things that would have happened in my life that if my last name wasn't Biden.
Why did you leave the board in April?
It's a 5-year term.
And you chose not to
I chose
continue.
not to. Yeah.
Why?
I think it's pretty obvious why.
This is your opportunity to say why.
Well, because this is what becomes a distraction, because I have to sit here and answer these questions. And so that's why I've committed that I won't serve on any boards or I won't work directly for any foreign entities when my dad becomes president.
Do you think that should be a rule across the board for any administration?
No, look, that's the rule that I'm going to adhere to.
Do you regret being on the board to begin with?
No, I don't regret being on the board. What I regret is not taking into account that there would be a Rudy Giuliani and a president of the United States that would be listening to this ridiculous conspiracy idea, which has, again, been completely debunked by everyone. And, you know,
I think
people
at home are thinking, how could that not have crossed your mind? Or you wouldn't have felt just a little bit in your gut, like, maybe this isn't a good idea to go and sit on the board of this Ukrainian company.
I said to you, in retrospect, I wish that my judgment.
Right, but at the time, you never thought, this might not look right.
You know what? I'm a human. And you know what? Did I make a mistake? Well, maybe in the grand scheme of things, yeah. But did I make a mistake based upon some unethical lapse? Absolutely not.
China should start an investigation into the Bidens.
Also on Trump's list of accusations against Hunter Biden, that Hunter flew on Air Force Two with his father during an official government trip to China in 2013, leveraging that connection for financial gain in an investment deal with Chinese businessman Jonathan Lee. The president has repeatedly said that you received $1.5 billion from China despite no experience and for no apparent reason. Obviously, fact checkers have said that that is not true.
Look, this is literally has no basis in fact in any way.
Have you received any money from that business dealing?
No.
At all? Not
No.
1 cent?
Not 1 cent.
Definitely not $1.5 billion.
It's crazy. They feel like they have the license to go out and say whatever they want. It feels to me like living in some kind of Alice in Wonderland, where you're up on the real world and then you fall down the rabbit hole and, you know, the president's the Cheshire Cat asking you questions about crazy things that don't bear any resemblance to the reality of anything that has to do with me. And so here's the answer. No one ever paid me $1.5 billion. And if they had, I would not be doing this interview right now.
We saw you in those photos getting off of Air Force Two with your daughter, with your father.
I have traveled everywhere with my dad. And I went there because my daughter was on the trip too.
But did you talk about China or your deal with China?
No.
A 12-hour flight over?
No, of course not.
That never came up?
No.
Your father did shake hands with Mr. Lee, though, correct, in the lobby of that hotel?
I don't remember, but probably. Yeah, I hope so. I hope he did. He was my friend.
Jonathan Lee.
Yeah, for almost 13 years.
He was your friend and your business partner.
But I understand. So really, Amy, whether I'm in New York or whether I'm in Washington, D.C., a friend and a business associate is in the hotel, and my dad's sitting there. Is it inappropriate for me to have coffee with them? I don't
so that
find
meeting
anything
was
wrong.
not a mistake. It was not unethical.
100% not. No.
What do you say to people who believe this is exactly why people hate Washington? A vice president's son can make money in countries where your father is doing official government business.
By the way, well, I don't know what to tell you. I made a mistake in retrospect as it related to creating any perception that was wrong. And so, therefore, I'm taking it off the table, Amy. I'm making that commitment. Let's see if anybody else makes that commitment, but that's the commitment that I'm making.
And no evidence of illegal wrongdoing has been found against Hunter Biden or his father. Hunter Biden's lawyer announced Hunter would step down from the board of a Chinese-backed private equity company by the end of this month and commit to halting all work with foreign entities if his father wins the presidency in 2020.
Let's move to Barcelona, where violent protests broke out at the airport after separatist leaders were found guilty of promoting independence for the Catalonia region of Spain. And now across the pond to Julia McFarland in the London Bureau for the details. Julia, good morning. So can you remind us here what this independence movement is all about?
Morning, Kenneth. So back in 2017, the Catalans, they are the people who live in the Catalonia region, which the capital of that is Barcelona. They have long, there's been this long-running push for independence. They have a separate language from Spanish. They contribute a lot more to the economy than other regions of Spain. And back in 2017, there was a referendum on independence. Now, only 40% of people took part, but they delivered a 92% result in favor of independence. Now, following that contentious result, Madrid moved in, and there were loads and loads of protests sparked in response back at the time. And the protest leaders, the independence movement leaders, a lot of them have been on the run, but yesterday 9 of them were sentenced to between 9 and 13 years in prison. 3 more were found guilty of disobedience, but have not incurred any jail time. The Spanish authorities also issued a new warrant and arrest for the independence movement leader, Carles Puigdemont. He's still living abroad. He responded to the protests yesterday and the clashes with police as an infringement on Catalonian Catalonian freedom and independence. Once again, issuing his call for freedom for his people.
And Julia, the Nobel Prizes were announced this past week. A married couple have been awarded the Nobel Prize in economics, but they say they're just like any other couple trying to manage work and home life.
This is a really great story. So 2 of the Nobel Prize winners were married. They are Esther Duflo and Abhijit Banerjee. Michael Kramer from Harvard also jointly won the prize. Now, the married couple from MIT, they gave a really endearing press conference where they talked about their family life. They've got 2 small kids, 3 and 5, and they say that they are banned from talking about economics at the dinner table. The kids don't want to hear anything about it, so they say they have to talk shop whilst they're doing the cooking or on the school run. But there was this really, really nice little moment where Esther Duflo, she said that when the call came in the morning, they rang early on Monday, and she was told it was an important call from Sweden, and she says her response was, well, since you've now woken me up, go ahead. And Banerjee, her husband, he said that the press conference, they really wanted a woman to get involved in the press conference, and he said that, well, that he wasn't qualified for that, so he went back to bed. But his wife is the first woman to have won a Nobel Prize in economics, so it was a bit of history and a really nice backstory to go with it.
Quite the household there, and I love that the kids there, they were like, well, they don't really want to talk about any of that, and the parents, the parents said that they believe that they're the center of the universe, and in that household, I'm sure they're right. All right, well, Julia, thank you so much. I appreciate.
Before we go, Kenneth.
Yes.
Have to show you something. Can't let you go without seeing this, because there was something very interesting happened on the streets of London yesterday. As you know, there are climate change protests going on, and there was this moment when a broccoli was arrested by police.
Oh my goodness.
Guys, I can't confirm reports that he was arrested on charges of stalking.
Oh, okay.
This arrest coming at a time of simmering tensions between eco-warriors and the London authorities. No, I just think it's brilliant, guys. So obviously there are a lot of people who are campaigning for more eco-friendly policies. Eat more vegetables, this guy says. Give peas a chance. Oh, it's wonderful. It's just wonderful. And I just think, you know, those policemen, they saw the TV cameras there. They knew this is going to be a viral moment right here.
Definitely.
When we try and put this guy away. Let's just get it over and done with.
I will say that I'm a little green with envy with your about your jokes there.
Oh yeah, almost as bad as mine.
No, they're probably worse. They're definitely worse. All right, my friend. Well, eat your veggies. I appreciate it. Good to see you.
See you tomorrow.
Let's check our notifications now, starting with an interspecies friendship. Watch this baby cheetah and a puppy playing together. Zoos will often pair cheetah and cubs with puppies to keep the cheetahs calm.
Who knew?
They are so cute. I love them.
We love little animal videos. And then up next, we have a new world record. A man skipped through an entire half marathon to etch his name into the record books.
That's some 13 miles of skip to the loo, my darling.
I know.
There he goes, skipping away. He likes to break a lot of world records. He's got a bunch under his belt there. And this actually, we sped it up because he was definitely not going that fast.
Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah, just letting you guys know.
Yes, absolutely.
Skip the loo.
And then a rescue at a popular recreation area near Salt Lake City involved a dog as the victim.
His name, Floyd, and he was injured while walking on a trail with his owner. And this big boy right here, nearly 200 pounds, he is a Mastiff, too heavy for his owner to carry him off the mountain, of course. The county sheriff's all-volunteer search and rescue team sprang into action.
They put Floyd onto a litter and brought him to safety. It is one of the few times a male dog had a litter.
Oh, there you go.
Yes.
Okay, I see that. I see. Okay. I want to cuddle with that big dog. That is like lovable.
So sad.
I know. It's like, y'all, hurt my paw.
You're safe now.
Hurt my paw. All right, coming up, we've got a busy day ahead. We'll tell you what's on the schedule this Tuesday.
Plus, fallout after a former Panera worker says she was fired for exposing the restaurant chain's macaroni and cheese recipe. More after this. And here's what to watch out for today. Democrats vying for the White House have descended on Ohio for the biggest presidential primary debate ever. 12 candidates will take the stage tonight, squaring off for the first time since the launch of the impeachment inquiry. Among them, Elizabeth Warren, who's been surging in the polls, Joe Biden, who's been fending off attacks about his son's business dealings, and Bernie Sanders there, recovering after suffering a heart attack. Pre-debate coverage starts right here on ABC News Live at 7 Eastern.
Deputy Secretary of State George Kent is set to be deposed by 3 House committees as part of the impeachment inquiry into President Trump's call with the president of Ukraine.
President Trump is set to welcome the Stanley Cup champion St. Louis Blues to the White House. The Blues beat the Boston Bruins in 7 games to take home the cup.
NASA is set to demonstrate spacesuit prototypes that could be used to explore the moon, and the official White House Christmas tree will be selected from a farm in Pittman, Pennsylvania.
Plus, don't forget to tune in to the Debrief for an update on all our top stories and the briefing room for a breakdown of the latest headlines in politics.
All right, finally this morning, a worker at Panera Bread has lost her job after posting a video that went viral.
The video shows how Panera's popular macaroni and cheese is prepared. It gets heated in hot water, then cut out of its plastic pouch, poured into a bowl and served. Well, at the end of the video, we actually see the former employee give a thumbs up. Panera confirmed the video's authenticity. The former worker claims she was let go because of this video.
So I was trying to make a sound effect of when she did the thumbs up, but I did a pop. Instead, I meant to do a ding, like as in when she does the thumb, ding, because that was her last time we saw her in Panera because she got fired for posting that.
Fired.
I don't need to see the behind the scenes of how the food is made as long as it's good and we know
as it's yummy and it's warm.
Goes down in my belly and it's great.
I'm good.
But that's our question of the day. Was Panera right to fire her for posting the video? More importantly, are you still going to eat that mac and cheese?
I will.
Tell us what you think in the comments or tweet us at ABC News Live. Let us know. Also, in general, do you care how the food is prepared as long as it's in a safe, sanitary, healthy way?
Tell us all about it.
Because obviously Panera says, you know, it's they don't want to give away the proprietary recipe. It's been a long morning. Recipe.
Yes.
So they want to give the details of that. But as far as this is how it's just packaged, there's no preservatives, all those things, and they got to send it out to the store, so they got to freeze it.
Yes.
And then they got to warm it up. That's just the way it's done. It doesn't look good.
Yeah. And so they're telling us it's time to wrap.
But I got one more thing to say.
What?
There were no rats in the video. Isn't that a plus? We got very high, very low standards.
Day, everyone.
There were no rats. There were no rats. Goodbye. We'll see you tomorrow. It's okay.